Persist. You've got to overcome obstacles, but you've got to do it right. And it's not what happens, it's how you handle it. Your belief level will be affected by the level of passion that you have. The more passionate you are, the more belief that you will have. You know what Mike Murdoch has said? The only reason men fail is broken focus. When you take your eye off of the prize, when you take your eyes off of the goal, the dream that is before you, then you get sidetracked. And distractions are one of the greatest enemies of success.
If the dream is big enough, the facts don't count.
Good evening. Welcome to iDream. I'm Rollan Roberts, and we're going to spend the next few minutes inspiring you to pursue your dreams. My guest tonight is Pastor Chuck Baldwin, and we're going to talk about spiritual success. You're going to learn tonight the key, the real key to how to be successful, and you don't want to miss it. Look, I know there's a lot of channels that you can flip through over the next few minutes, but none of them care about your success as much as I do. You will be a better person 30 minutes from now than you are at this moment. Stay with me. Your success depends on it. Welcome back. I'm Rollan Roberts, and my guest tonight, of course, is Pastor Chuck Baldwin. By way of introduction, let me just let you know a little bit about my guest tonight. Pastor Baldwin founded the Crossroad Church in Pensacola, Florida, over 30 years ago, right, and is still currently the pastor there. He was also the 2008 presidential candidate for the Constitution Party, and had an amazing run there. He's on the radio over 40 times a week in several states around the country. And but I'll tell you, the reason why he's on the program tonight is not because he founded a church and pastors a church. It's not just because he was a presidential candidate in the past. It's because he is my pastor as well. And I sit under his spiritual guidance week in, week out. And so I certainly believe that that is the fundamental key to success above anything else. So I'm just honored, really, that you'd be here with me tonight.
Roland, I'm honored that you would let me come on your program. Thank you very much.
Well, Pastor, there's a lot of people, whenever they talk about success, they don't automatically think spiritually. They're thinking things, materialistic, money, wealth. What does the Bible have to say about success, though?
Right. It's very important that people understand true success. And I think over the last several decades, we have become such a materialistically driven society that we've lost touch with true success. I think that our founders and the early generations of America really understood true success. I think one of the reasons that America became such a successful and prosperous nation is because the early generations understood that true success was not really measured in terms of material wealth or growth or prosperity, but rather it was inward. It was spiritual in nature, it was eternal in nature, and the material blessings were kind of like sugar on top of the cake, but that wasn't really the substance of it all. And I think somewhere over the years we've lost balance, we've lost touch, and we've become, I hate to say it, but we've become greedy of gain. We've become enamored with material success, etc. And the result has been we've abandoned some of the real basic principles that really make us truly successful people. And as a result, now then, in our country, I think we're seeing the fallacy of that because we're teetering on destruction when it comes to financial success. I mean, look at how many people have lost everything that they've worked for. Retirements have been wiped out. Savings have been wiped out. People that have worked for 30 or 40 years, and just to the point that they think that they have enough to retire on, all of a sudden overnight it's gone. Now, how foolish we are to think that material success is the sum of all success. I think maybe God is going to use this in our country to get us to realize that we need to start focusing on the things that are real and substantive and start recognizing what is true success. I hope that's the case.
Well, I do too. And I think you mentioned something that's key, which I think is is fundamental, which is the priorities, and we've gotten them out of whack, and we focused on we've made the goal money,
right?
And rarely does that only ends up with greed,
right?
And when the focus is money, because then it's never enough.
If money could buy happiness and success in the true sense, then pray tell, why are so many people in Hollywood so
Right.
miserable?
Right.
Why are so many people with riches? Why are they so miserable? Why do we find the condition of our families, our homes, our children, etc.? Because if money was the wherewithal, the end of all, etc., etc., why would we be having these problems? I think that we recognize that there are many people out there that live in modest means, with modest incomes, they live in modest houses, etc., etc. But when you look at them, they're happy. They have
right.
joy and peace and contentment in their lives. And what really is the goal? Is it things, or is it peace and joy and happiness and all these other intangibles? And I think that the people that are truly successful, even the people that may have a lot of riches in this world, if they really do have true success, they understand that success is something that money cannot buy.
Right.
There's something to be said about hard work. There's something to be said about being industrious, and the Bible has a lot to say about the importance of hard work, and the importance of industry, and the importance of putting your heart into your labor, and the importance of work for work's sake.
Right.
And then whatever prosperity comes as a result of giving it your best and honoring God with whatever He gives you.
Yes.
That is all a part of it. But at the end of the day, it's the inner peace, it's the inner joy that only comes from God,
right.
only comes from God's principles, that will give men the peace that they seek.
That's right. The fancy car won't give them that peace.
No, it won't.
The big house won't give them that
No.
peace. The fancy vacations and
No.
luxurious times, it really does come only from one source.
Yeah.
And now when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the secret of successful living, and he's already touched on it. Stay with me. Your success depends on it. Welcome back. I'm here tonight with Pastor Chuck Baldwin. Pastor, we're talking about materialism, greed, and how people equate things and money with success, and then kind of the more of it you have, the more successful you are. People don't even know who the person is. They'll look at a person and they'll see, oh, nice clothes, nice cars, nice things, nice stuff,
right.
And they just say he's successful.
Right.
And you noted that some of the people that are truly successful, that happen to have some of those things,
Right.
understand that that's just a mere that it's just things, it's just stuff. They don't even view that as their success.
Now, God has given to every man certain gifts and abilities, and if people will apply themselves to those abilities and to those gifts, they may become wealthy. They may become successful in the eyes of the world. They may have a lot of stuff,
right.
A material success, etc. The condition of that, the dimensions of that, will be dependent upon the parameters and the gifts that God has given to men. Mm-hmm. Whatever degree we find ourselves successful or not, really is immaterial to true happiness and true success. A person that will apply himself and will be honest and will be vigorous and dedicated and apply the basic fundamental values and principles upon which real success is founded, he will find the peace, the joy, the contentment. The results of his labor, however great they may or may not be, will be according to God's will and according to God's gifts that He's given to us. But that will not determine the peace and the happiness. The peace and the happiness will come from the above that I just mentioned, that the fact that he's applying his gifts, that he's using his ability, that he's honoring God with whatever he has. Right. He's emphasizing family and basic values and the importance of his spiritual life and so forth. And that will be the core of his being. And therefore, whatever material prosperity he has, he'll be able to enjoy it. Right. And it's not a matter of greed. It's not a matter of trying to be a showman or keep up with the Joneses or whatever. That he won't be dominated by that.
Speaking of which, that's why so many people are in the position they're in today, because they were trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Exactly.
I've told people before, many Americans, many people are so busy buying things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't like, and it's gotten them to a financial nightmare because they never back to priorities because their priorities were out of whack. And if my premise is kind of, if your goal is things and your goal is stuff, then I can almost assure you that your priorities and your behaviors are out of whack.
And I can almost assure you that you're going to be miserable. It's almost a promise. It's a given. If that is your priority, you will be miserable. You will not be able to be happy because, like old John D. Rockefeller said when somebody asked him one time, how much money does it take to make a man happy?
Right.
And, now the famous response, a little more.
Right.
No one is happy with what they have. If stuff, things, material, success is the gauge of your joy and contentment, you're never going to be happy.
Right.
Because you're never going to be satisfied. It's an insatiable appetite when it comes to material success. So again, we have to get back to the root of success, which is founded and framed around the principles that God has established in His Word. And whenever we put God first, we put our family second, we get the proper outlook on our work, and we work for work's sake. The joy in the early days of our country used to be men took pride in their work. It wasn't just what their work could do for them.
Right.
It was what work meant to them. A doctor wanted to be a doctor because he wanted to care for people. He took pride in being able to help his fellow man enjoy better health. The material gain that came to him was secondary.
Right.
And you could say the same thing with others, regardless of their field. They took joy and delight in being able to, to put together a good product. My dad, was a welder by trade. And he comes from a family of hard-working blue-collar people, carpenters, machinists, plumbers, etc. These guys, World War II generation guys, I mean, they took pride in their work. At the end of the day, they went home and they said, boy, look, that was, I did a good, the material gain was secondary.
Right.
And whatever they gained from that, so be it. But the thing that they really took pride in was the work itself. Somehow that we've lost that.
You're exactly right. There's a lot of home builders that still, some home builders feel that way. If they're independent, they really tie their name to their work. Cobblers, a lot of times in the old days, especially when woodworkers, people who work and manufacture different furniture or what have you out of wood. A lot of them take great pride in it. Right. But as a whole, as a majority, most people have lost that ability. And that was a principle, by the way, that I learned from you, was working for work's sake. It was like retirement's not the goal.
Right.
It was realizing the honor that is in work itself.
Where did that come from? This idea that the ultimate goal of the American people is to sit back and do nothing. I never have really been able to comprehend. Where did that come from? I mean, you look at the really great Americans that we've revered through the years. How many of them retired? I mean, they may have retired from a job. I mean, they may get a pension because of a tenure of time. But that's not what I'm saying. They never retired from being industrious. I mean, Colonel Sanders, for example, retired from whatever he did. Who can remember what he did before he founded Kentucky Fried Chicken? Nobody knows what he did. And he was 65, I think it was, or later than that, when he came up with the idea of Kentucky Fried Chicken. And now that the rest is history, as they say. And so many men. Ben Franklin, one of our founding fathers, was in his 80s, and he was still inventing. He was still working. The idea that the great objective of the human race is to sit back and do absolutely nothing, to be on constant vacation for the rest of our lives. That's anathema to everything that we held dear in the old days, and to really what our entire makeup is all about. We are meant to be productive. God intends that we'll be productive to the very end of our days with whatever talents and gifts that we may have. And so that's where we should take delight, is in being able to serve our fellow man, to help other people, to be involved in whatever it is that God has given us the ability to do, to take pride in it, to do the very best that we can do. God promises that He will bless that to whatever degree is up to Him. But in the meantime, we have the peace and the joy in our hearts, in our families, in our homes, because we're emphasizing these important truths.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about how success is related to your freedom. Stay with me. Your success depends on it. Welcome back. Pastor, I want to talk about when our country was founded, it was the only thing they knew was free enterprise and the laws of capitalism and business ownership, entrepreneurship. People didn't come to America to work for somebody else. Even today, many of the business owners are from outside of the country.
Sure.
And even employment as a whole is a really, in comparison to America's history, a more recent phenomenon. I mean, in the last 60, 70 years since the industrial age essentially began with factories and things like that after the war. So, and of course, I think that is detrimental to the financial success usually for people by focusing only on employment, because very few people achieve financial success or financial riches in that vein. But I think that they're so accustomed to that for security's sake. They need that security blanket.
Right.
It's kind of like the passy or the blanket that you don't want to take away. It's their safety net. But what has that need for security done to their freedom?
Yeah.
And so not only is it costing them their success.
Right. Boy, we could talk a whole show on this. You know, the only security that men can really count on is the security that God gives. I mean, obviously, we've got to come back to the fact that we are a very dependent being. We're dependent upon God for everything. Our very breath, our life is all a gift of God. Somehow or another, we have become an entitlement society. We become a society that thinks that somehow or another somebody owes me something, whether it's government, whether it's my employer,
right.
Whoever it is. But I'm owed this, and I should have security in every area of my life. And they come to expect that and even demand that. Well, the only way that you can obtain any sense of human security is to cede your liberty to someone else. Freedom is a risk.
Yes.
The very nature of freedom is risky business. Freedom means that not only do I have the potential of great success, I also have the potential of great failure. And people don't like that, a lot of people. And we've lost that entrepreneurial spirit. And I would even say it's in a different way. We've lost the independent spirit. You know, as a nation, the birth certificate of our country is the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
That was what drove our founding fathers, was that spirit of independence, that spirit of freedom, where that, yes, I know I may fail.
Yes.
I may give it my best and I may come up short, but you know what? I can be free and I can be independent. I can be able to trust God and use my gifts and abilities, whatever they may be, and let God determine the parameters of my success. And I'm willing to take that risk because I love freedom. Right. Well, when men begin to look at security as the great need in life, they would be willing, and they are today, to cede their freedom on the promise of security. And so that's what we see going on today. I mean, we could get into politics here and talk about, the USA Patriot Act and so many of these egregious abridgments of freedom that Americans are willing to give up in order that they may be secure.
Right. Well, that's happening,
yeah.
And people are continuing to do that. Well, if you want to get more of this, I mean, I wish we had a lot of shows as well to talk about this. I think it's something that everyone needs to hear, and we can't get enough of. You can go to chuckbaldwinlive.com.
Right.
You can find out the radio schedule there. You can always visit in person as well at the church. The times are on the site, I believe, as well. There's also a link to the church. They can get more information there. chuckbaldwinlive.com, and that's probably the best place that you can also contact, send any comments that you have to him. Well, you can order your autographed copy of my best-selling internationally released book, Born to be Rich, at www.idream247.com. Incidentally, Born to be Rich follows the teachings that some of the teachings that you've heard tonight. There's nothing that contradicts this at all in that book, but it's about how to think to attract wealth, riches, and success into your life. And now I'll be back next Monday at 5:30 right here. I'll tell you, I'm going to be giving a speech. If you are a manager or leader at all of people, you don't want to miss next Monday night. I'm going to teach you how to build great teams that can achieve amazing results. The power of one. So next Monday night, 5:30. And until then, remember, if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. I'm Rollan Roberts. Have a great week. Persist. You've got to overcome obstacles, but you've got to do it right. And it's not what happens, it's how you handle it. Your belief level will be affected by the level of passion that you have. The more passionate you are, the more belief that you will have. You know what Mike Murdoch has said? The only reason men fail is broken focus. When you take your eye off of the prize, when you take your eyes off of the goal, the dream that is before you, then you get sidetracked. And distractions are one of the greatest enemies of success.
If the dream is big enough, the facts don't count.